It is a great day to be alive, and I am so thankful for God, Jesus Christ, who lives in us. Today's video is titled Stellar XLM, September 17th, What Happened? Before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing that I'm sharing is financial advice. I'm simply sharing dreams, visions, and interpretations that I feel God has given me as it relates to crypto. Now, let's get into the video. So once we get towards the end of this video, I want to quickly talk about another date from another dream that I had. The most recent one that I talked about in a video about the Eiffel Tower dream. I think that that date and this date kind of corresponds together. But once we get to the end of the video, you'll see why I'm going to tie that in with this. So for starters, with this particular XLM dates, with these dates, I had two XLM dreams combined to get this range of dates, July 19th through September 17th. And there are various things within both of those dreams that I used to kind of pinpoint and take a look at certain dates. But for the most part, I knew that September 17th was the date that I wanted to look at for sure, because that was Jonathan McReynolds' birthday. He played a major role in the very first XLM dream when it came down to the price that I saw in that dream for XLM. In the second XLM dream, it had something to do with me selling my XLM to another person, kind of like a peer-to-peer is what I gathered from that. And also something about KuCoin was going on in that dream. A representative from KuCoin called me asking if I wanted them to email me my confirmation for the transaction that I had made. So KuCoin was in that dream, and something about peer-to-peer and as far as XLM. And then in the first XLM dream, the price target that I saw was, the price that I saw was $2,000, $2,000 plus dollars. So within this time frame of July 19th through September 17th this year, the questions that I pulled from both of these dreams were, the first one, should we expect to hear news about KuCoin being available again to those in the U.S.? And I've shared this already in another video as the news was coming out about the CFTC to soon issue clarification to allow users to trade on offshore crypto. KuCoin is considered to be one of those exchanges. And so for me, that checked the box about hearing about KuCoin coming back. Are we going to hear news about that within this time frame? Okay, now getting to the second point. Should we expect to hear news as it relates to XLM, peer-to-peer? Well, on September 17th, Jonathan McReynolds' birthday, news came out about the partnership with XLM and PayPal. And here it says PayPal is now leveraging the Stellar network by making its PayPal USD stablecoin available on Stellar. It goes on to say that it allows for potentially faster, lower cost, and more global peer-to-peer transactions through the network's infrastructure. This move is part of PayPal's effort to improve its peer-to-peer services. And again, this news came out on September the 17th. Which brings us to our third point. Should we expect to see the price of XLM move towards much higher prices or begin to move in ways that it becomes very noticeable? And that is the bullet point that I have not seen yet. However, on the 17th as well, news came out that the SEC approves generic listing standards for commodity-based trust shares. And among the tokens that are currently eligible for spot ETFs under generic listing standards includes XLM Doge, Doge USD, and Stellar XLM. And then there are a few more, and also Sheep. Hey, Sheep. Again, this news came out on September the 17th. I would think that with this PayPal news and what's going to happen after in the future, as well as this SEC approving of the generic listing and XLM being listed there, I think that there's a chance that this is what's going to, of course, help XLM begin to move to those higher prices and eventually to the price of $2,000 plus, like I saw in the dream. Now, here's what I want to bring in what I have been sharing in my last video about SPY 500 going to 667. My date for that was September the 15th, based on another dream that also had that number 667 putting it all together, September the 15th was that date. Now, looking at SPY going to 667, followed by a crash. Okay, I saw a crash after it hit 667. But then to look over at the stellar date, September 17th. And so I am saying, okay, God, I feel like you're showing me that there's going to be a crash before the run. To me, that would only make sense, being that those other two bullet points for this XLM dream we've seen, and now we're waiting to see this particular run. And so far, what have we seen? On September 15th, the S&P 500 main hit its highest. It closed above $6,600, which was the first time ever. And on its way up, it hit the number 6,670. This S&P main is what God led me to as I was doing my research about this Eiffel Tower dream 667. He led me to the .com bubble, trying to figure out what does the .com bubble have to do with the Eiffel Tower. We'll come to find out that this S&P 500 main also hit 667 as a low point in 2009 during the .com bubble. So that's the connection there between God leading me there in my research to the S&P 500 main. But the only difference was in my dream, I saw 3 digits and not 4 digits. But fulfilling the rest of what I saw in that dream, seeing the SPY hit 667, those 3 digits, all along I was thinking the S&P 500 ETF. Well, today, the S&P 500 ETF hit 667. It was struggling. It took a while, but it hit 667. And I thought it was very special because, which I didn't know, but somebody else pointed out to me that today, this afternoon, marks the start of Rosh Hashanah. I probably said that wrong. Rosh Hashanah. And I think that is also significant, being that I'm seeing the S&P 500 hit 667 on this particular day. I don't think that that's a coincidence. But getting back to September 17th and Stellar and the run versus September 15th and the SPY being a crash indicator. Again, I asked God the question, is this enough time for both of these to take place, for a crash to happen and then to turn around and see a run? And so taking all things into consideration, as well as all the news about Stellar that has been, as God has shown, I like to think that this XLM run will begin after this crash, after whatever this 667 September 15th date, as well as today with the S&P, whatever that brings as far as a crash, however, whatever causes that to take place, I believe that we're going to see the bull run after. And what God has done is he's giving us these 3 bullet points about Stellar to see, news about KuCoin and news about XLM peer-to-peer that took place on September 17th. All these things I feel like God has given us as indicators for XLM to let us know that we're on track. We're very close. When you see these things, then know that we're almost there. That is all that I have for this video. Until the next one, God bless.